Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to day 3 of ACE, the BEC exam summit. I'm so excited for today. Today is going to be an amazing day. And I hope all of you will get the most value out of today's content and out of today's tips and strategies that we will give you. So, who's excited for today? Let's see in the chat right now. Who's excited for today? Let's see. Priya says, hello. Hello, Priya. Hello. Who's excited? Let's see. Future CPAs, come on. Yeah, Glam CPA Preparation says, so excited. Yeah, our guest for today is from Glam CPA Review. And her name is Valerie, and she's going to give us great content for today. So who's excited, guys? Come on, show us in the chat. Who's excited? Today, we're going to be talking about the written communication section of the BEC exam. This is a very important section, and candidates usually face a lot of difficulties in this section. Most of the questions about the BEC that the people struggle with are written communication. Abon said, very excited, amazing, and I'm sure you're going to get the most value out of today's session, of course. Amazing. So focus with us today, and I hope all of you will get the most value. Hi, Valerie. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your encouragement to give us value and talk about the written communications today and help candidates.
I am glad to help. It is so important that these candidates strive to get through BEC this year so that they can be ready for the new exam come 2024. So I am thrilled to dive in to talk about an important element of the BEC exam, and that is the written communication question. So it's a form of a task-based sim of sorts, and it does, provide up to 15% of their score. So it's really important. They can get some easy points towards their BEC score.
Amazing. So first, you can introduce yourself to the people, and then you can dive into the material.
That'd be great. Thank you. So everyone, I'm Valerie Wendt. I'm the CPA product manager here at GLIME. I've been with GLIME for almost 4 years, but I have about 25 years experience in the CPA exam space. I have actually worked for a couple of other CPA review providers. So I have got lots and lots of experience dealing with the CPA exam and encouraging candidates to make it their mission to get through their exams and become CPA certified. So I am welcome to connections on LinkedIn. I'll have my contact information at the end of my slides today, but I do want to spend some time with you and just talk to you about how you can get some really easy points by scoring well on the written communication questions. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you all can see that. And so we're going to dive right in. And one of the first things I just want you to be aware of, in case it hasn't been shared with you this week, is that there are some important dates that you need to be aware of, especially as it relates to BEC. And if this is repeat information, I believe in driving the message home. So here it is again, take note. Testing on the CPA exam in the current format is up. You can test all the way up until December 15th. December 15th is the last possible day. The last day that you can apply to take BEC as a first-time BEC test taker is October 1. And that's for the states that NASBA handles the applications. And that date's pretty consistent, and you should see that with all the other state boards as well. If you take BEC earlier than the end of this year and end up having to retake it, they're giving you a little bit of extra time to apply for your retake in the hopes that you could get that retake in by December 15th. And that last day to apply is November 12th. So please make sure you're aware of those dates. The last day that NASBA and the state boards are going to process BEC applications is November 15th. Any applications that come in after that date, unfortunately, are not going to be able to be processed in time in order for you to get a seat at the Prometric Testing Center. And I'll just mention too, you need to be very aware that the seats at the Prometric testing centers could start filling up as we get later and later into this year. Here we are almost into June. So really we have 6 months left. It is not the time to be procrastinating. It is time now to be attacking this exam, especially the BEC exam section, to get it done. So please commit with me to get through the BEC. In the event that you pass BEC, which we're all hoping that you will, the good news is come 2024, you are not going to have to take one of the new discipline exam sections. You're going to get credit for that. If you do not pass BEC and you end up having to sit in 2024, you will be forced to choose one of those discipline exams as your 4th exam section. And I'm not going to go into the other exam sections because today we are focused on BEC. So the written communication questions, only in the BEC section. BEC exam is 4 hours. The written communication questions are going to appear in that 5th testlet, and there will be 3 written communication questions that you will have to answer. One of those written communication questions is going to be a pretest question. What's that mean? That means that whatever you answer to that question is not going to be scored. Unfortunately, you are not going to know which one of the 3 written communication questions is a pretest question. So my advice is to answer each one of those 3 written communication questions to your best of your ability, anticipating that you're going to be given credit for your answer to that question. So attack each one of them. The written communication questions are worth 15% of your overall BEC score. The remainder of that score is taken up with your multiple choice question performance and the other task-based sim performance. So 15% is a significant amount. And again, written communication questions can get you easy points. So let's talk about the written communication questions. What aren't they? They are not an essay question. This is not just a free form writing on a topic. You will be given a situation, very clear instructions, and you'll need to write in an appropriate document relating to that particular situation. The instructions within each written communication question will state what form your response needs to be in. It could be a business memo. It could be a letter. So you need to make sure that you are understanding how to format your response in order to get the most points. And so it goes back to making sure you're reading the instructions clearly. And I'm going to dive into a lot more of this in just a little bit. So the written communication questions are scored based on 3 general writing criteria: the organization of your response, how you develop your response, and how you express your ideas within that response. And while it's advisable to talk on the topic, and I highly encourage you to talk on topic, scoring is predominantly on how well the written response is. And I know for some individuals, especially if English is not your first language, this can be a struggle. I know it can be a struggle. So some of the things I'm going to talk about today, we really will address the English communication necessary within these written communication questions. And so we're going to dive into each of these 3 sections real quickly. So let's talk about the organization of your response on the written communication question. When you're organizing your thoughts for this type of response, it involves the document structure. How do you build it out? How do you order your ideas in communicating your thoughts? And how do you link each one of those ideas together? And then the question will be assessed for if you have given an overview or what we call a thesis statement. Do your paragraphs tie together nicely? And do you have good transitions or connections between each of your thoughts within your written communication response? The way you develop your ideas involves providing evidence in support of your idea, being able to provide your thoughts very clearly. So providing information to clarify whatever thoughts that you are presenting. Development will be assessed for whether you have used details in the support of your response, if you've used definitions on terms that maybe need to be defined, if you've provided examples, or if you have rephrased the question appropriately. Some of your easiest points will come from that very first opening paragraph where you are just restating what they're asking you to do. And we'll talk about that in a minute as well. And then how do you express your thoughts? So this involves your use of conventional standards of business English. So again, it's the English language, could be difficult, but you need to understand the conventional standards of using business English in your writing. You'll be assessed for correct grammar, proper punctuation, proper choice of word use. And I've got a little quiz I'm going to show you in a second, and we'll have some practice there. If you've capitalized the words appropriately, and of course, spelling. So some basic English, business English. So how do you earn a top score on the written communication questions? Being able to show that you understand the context of the question, that you have thought through the message before you have written down your ideas, that you have properly structured your response. So you've given some thought into how you're going to respond to that question. And then, of course, have you paid attention to your grammar? Have you paid attention to your spelling? So let's look at how the scoring is done within written communication and how points are going to be assigned to you. So the first idea was understanding the context of what's being asked of you in the question itself. So one of the things you need to determine is, who are you in the prompt? When they're asking you to draft some correspondence, are you the auditor? Are you the auditor's manager? Are you the senior in the firm? Are you some outside source? It will clearly tell you in the question on who you are in the response. So that should be your first frame of reference on how you're going to address the communication. And then secondly, the question will clearly tell you, who are you writing to? And your business communication in this response should be addressed to that person. So are you writing to another auditor? Are you writing to the CPA who may be writing to the client? Are you the auditor writing to a superior within your firm? Are you the auditing senior writing to somebody underneath you in staff positions? Are you an internal accountant writing to a superior, or are you an internal accountant writing to staff? All of these make a difference in how you form your communication. And again, if you can capture these first two elements, it shows that you understand the context of the written communication in response to the question. So easy points, understanding these two concepts right here. Next, also going on to understand the context, you do want to avoid being too technical. While you do want to show your technical expertise, don't get too flowery in your communication just to show that you know accounting buzzwords. You want to keep the tone within your communication friendly, but professional. And then you want to think through your message before you start writing. And that you could take advantage of that notepad or that document that's given to you when you check into the test center. When you start thinking through your response, take a deep breath, think through the response, and then brainstorm some points before you actually respond. Just write those down quickly beside you. Keep it simple, and then pick 2 or 3 points that you want to address in your response. So when you go to structure your response, you should always start with an overview or thesis paragraph. And this really is the opening paragraph to your communication. It is restating what is being asked of you. And I'm going to show you some examples of how you can clearly do that and what form what that looks like. When you're writing out and thinking through your paragraphs, your supporting evidence in your communication, you want your paragraphs to tie nicely to each other. You want to have a topic sentence communicating what the main idea of that paragraph is. And then it should go on and explain the main idea and then finish the paragraph with the restatement of that topic sentence. And again, I have some examples of what that looks like. And then as you transition from one paragraph to the next, you want to use transition words. And I've given you some examples here. For example, or currently, or lastly, or in fact, how it is actually showing that you are building your response, and each paragraph ties with the next. At most, your response to a written communication question is going to be 4 to 5 paragraphs at best. There could be some longer ones depending if they're asking you to document 5 or 6 steps of something, but generally speaking, 4 or 5 paragraphs. You must have that opening thesis paragraph and a conclusion paragraph. So that's 2 of the 4 or 5 paragraphs. And then the remaining paragraphs are in support of your idea. You do want to make an outline of the first sentence of each paragraph. And that's something, again, you can easily jot down. It helps form your thoughts. And then you can go back in and fill in all the detail. Your thesis or introductory paragraph cannot include your actual response. You don't want that opening paragraph to include everything you want to say. Each of the paragraphs will build upon what your response should be. So don't throw everything in that first paragraph. That first paragraph is really an introduction to your response. You will get points taken off if you do that. And we'll talk more about the building out the response. You want to stick to 1 point per supporting paragraph. Again, it kind of goes back to what I just said about the first paragraph. You don't want to dump everything into the first paragraph, or if you have a really nice opening paragraph, you don't want to dump everything into the second paragraph. You really want to define your ideas, and each idea have its own paragraph, and it gives you an opportunity to build and expand upon those ideas. Using transition phrases between paragraphs or between thoughts helps the reader, the scorer, to understand what you're trying to say. So using words like first, second, lastly, or in addition, or in summary, it lets them know how your ideas are developing. And then in your concluding paragraph, make it brief. If you are writing a letter or a memo, just like you would write any type of business communication, even though this is an exam and question, you want to conclude it like you would the actual communication. Thank you for your time. Feel free to contact me at, just like you would if you were writing a letter or a memo, or even an email to somebody else within your organization. Think of it like that. So, things to think about when it comes to written communication scoring. Remember the details, remember definitions if appropriate, and remember providing examples whenever you can. It'll add points to your overall written communication score. So let's talk a little bit. This is some business English here coming your way. So sentence structure is important. So you may have to go back to your English class. You may want to pull out those English textbooks. The first thing is expression. And so that is made up of your grammar, your punctuation, the choice of words that you use within your sentence, proper capitalization, and of course, spelling. And we talked about those just a few seconds ago. Diction. So diction is where you have used the appropriate word choice to communicate your response. You want to find the best word possible that's going to explain clearly and concisely what you're trying to say. There are some troublesome words, and we're going to talk about a couple of them here in just a couple slides. For example, the difference between the word accept and accept. People get confused on the use of these two words all of the time. Accept, A-C-C-E-P-T, is where you are accepting something. You're accepting an award. Accept is it is a difference. It's accept this. It's ruling out something, for example. Clearly two definitions. You want to make sure you're using the proper word within the context of your response. Syntax. So this is a fancy word that really just clearly means how you order the words in your sentence. the most most often this comes when you are being really too rushed in your response. You're writing quickly. I do it in my own email communication. I will write out my thoughts so fast I get my words all out of order. And I have to be intentional about going back and rereading my response before I hit send. Well, the same thing will happen here. You could be so rushed in writing out your response that you get words out of order and it messes up the clarity of your communication. So you want to make sure that you are reading each sentence very carefully and making sure that the words are in the best possible order to communicate your response clearly to the reader. Sentence fragments, I think, today's communication styles where we're so quick to, do tweets or we're in text mode that we forget that each sentence needs to have a subject and a predicate. It has to have a verb. And so you need to make sure that your sentences are complete and they're not just segments of a sentence. You also don't want your sentences to run on so that your thoughts just continue with no punctuation and no distinct difference between thoughts. So make sure you're using the proper punctuation so that your sentences don't run on. And then that leads right into punctuation and spelling. So you want to use the proper punctuation. Do you know when to use a comma versus a colon? Or do you know when to use question marks and parentheses? Do you know when to put the punctuation within the parentheses or outside of the parentheses? And don't rely on spell checkers. There could be a spell checker there that could look through your words, but spell checkers are not going to catch correctly spelled words that could be used incorrectly. Let's go back to that accept and accept term. They're spelled properly, but in the context of your sentence, they could be clearly wrong. A spell checker will never catch that. So it's important that you understand the choice of words, punctuation, and spelling. So I have a couple of quiz questions for you, and I'm going to have you put your answers in chat. And so I will open up my chat window so I can kind of see what your responses are going to be. So I'm going to give you a question and with a fill in the blank, and then you need to fill in the proper word. So here it is. And so drop your answer into chat. So here's the question or sentence. The company can assert any defenses against third-party beneficiaries that blank against the promisee. So is the proper word choice they have or it has? Which phrase do you think goes into that blank? Should it read, the company can assert any defenses against third-party beneficiaries that they have against the promisee? Or should it say, the company can assert any defenses against third-party beneficiaries that it has against the promisee? So you're trying to figure out, should it be a they? Should it be an it? So take a second and drop into chat what you think the correct phrase should be in this particular example. And then I'll show you what the answer should be. So is it they have or is it has? So again, drop them into chat. I'm not seeing any responses. B, okay, it has, got a couple of it hases. Give me a couple more. I know there's more than 2 people in this room. What do you think the answer is? It has, okay. Any more thoughts on A or B? Okay, I'm gonna give you 5 more seconds. Just drop it in, A or B. Let me know what you think. Okay. All right, let's go on and see what the answer should be. It looks like most of you chose it has. And you're right. It is. The company is an it. It's not a they. It is an it. So the proper sentence would have been third-party beneficiaries that it has against the promisee. Very good. I'm so proud of you guys. I've got one more that we're going to do. So here's one, and this goes to just the proper use of punctuation. The word itself is spelled the same in all three of these options, but what is the proper use of the word in this particular example? Under the cost method, treasury stock is presented on the balance sheet as an unallocated reduction of total stockholders' equity. Now, is it stockholders as a group possessive? Is it stockholders as a group with not possessive, or is it an individual stockholder possessive equity? So A, B, or C, drop in the chat which spelling and use of punctuation in this particular example would you use in this sentence? So again, these are simple, easy things that could trip you up, but could get you extra points. I mean, getting a point by making sure you've chosen the right stockholders in this example, that should be easy. So this is where you can get some super easy points. So A, B, or C, drop it in chat. Which one do you think it should be? Stockholders with the punctuation at the end, stockholders with no apostrophe, or stockholders with an apostrophe S? A, B, or C? Give you a few seconds to drop that in. I've got 2 people that have responded. A few more. A, B, or C? Let me know what you're thinking. All righty, so this one is causing a little bit of more confusion amongst people. Okay, all righty. So I've got people choosing all 3 of them. So let's talk about which one you should have chosen. In this example, it should have been A. Stockholders as a plural, as a group of individuals who actually own that equity. It's the stockholders as a whole group of people equity. It's not a stockholders without an apostrophe, that's no possessive whatsoever. You know, the confusion for me would have been between A and C. Is stockholders considered a group, or is stockholders an individual? So is it a stockholder, an individual's equity, or the group's equity? In this example, it's the group's equity, stockholders with the apostrophe at the end. So good job. So those of you that chose A, there were a few of you that did A, great job. For those of you that chose B and C, I hope I clarified and clearly showed you the difference on why they were not correct and why A should have been the correct answer. Okay, now let's look at an actual written communication question on the BEC exam. And so this will kind of help us dive into some of the tips that I shared earlier and how to apply them. So here's the question. I know it's kind of hard to read this particular question, so I'm going to read it out loud. And as I read this, I want you to think about, who are you in the response? Who are you writing to? And what form should your communication take? It's one of the 3 things that you need to clearly understand before you get started. Who are you in the response? Who are you writing to? And what form should your communication take? So here's the question. You are the head of internal audit for Stark Company and issuer. A new member of the board of directors has asked you to explain the 5 components of internal control according to the COSO framework. In a memo to the new member of the board, explain these components. Type your communication in the response below, and then you have some area there at the bottom that you're going to be typing. Now, in every written communication question, you have this reminder that your response is going to be graded for technical content and writing skills. Technical content will be evaluated for information that's helpful to the intended audience and clearly relevant to the issue within the question. Writing skills will be evaluated for development, organization, and appropriate expression of ideas. Does that sound familiar? In professional correspondence, use an appropriate business format with a clear introduction, body, and conclusion. Which, isn't it nice that they remind you that what you should be doing? So even if you didn't remember the steps I told you, it's clearly here in front of you if you read it. Do not convey information in the form of a table, a bullet point list, or other abbreviated presentation. Again, you want to write out your responses. So think about it. Who are you? Who are you writing to? And what form should it be? So in looking at this question, it says right there in the first sentence, you are the head of internal audit for the company. So you're the head of the department. Who are you writing to? You are writing to the new member of the board of directors. And in the second paragraph, it tells you what form your communication be. It should be a memo. So it's a memo from you, the head of internal audit, to the new board member of the board of directors. Okay, let's go on. So let's break down what the suggested answer would look like. So at the beginning, which we just talked about, it's a memo. How are memos addressed? They have a to, a from, the date, and the subject of the memo. You wouldn't think that that's what they're looking for in this free-form text. You think you should just maybe dive into the memo. No, you need to clearly understand and show that you understand what they've asked you to do and what form this communication should take. If it had been a letter, it wouldn't start like this, but it's asking you to do a memo. A memo has a to, from, a date, and a subject line. So clearly put that in the start of your response. The first paragraph in any communication is an introductory paragraph. It needs to be clear. It needs to repeat what they asked you to do. So in this example, this introductory paragraph says, the COSO internal control integrated framework, COSO framework in parentheses, is a wide, and that COSO framework in parentheses is an example or a definition, so that the reader who may not understand what that is or what it would look like, you've put it in parentheses there, is a widely accepted standard for the design and operation of internal control systems that achieve the organization's objectives. Following is a summary of the 5 components of the COSO framework. So the question asked, if we go back, the question asked for you to explain the 5 components of internal control according to the COSO framework. So this is a new board member. They may not understand what COSO framework even is, and you need to make sure that they understand what you're giving them, okay? So here's our introductory paragraph. We have pretty much restated what was in the question itself. Again, easy points. The information is in the question itself. You would not have had to memorize any of this. You're taking it right out of the question. Now, the 5 steps, the 5 components, you would have had to know them as we build out this particular response. But this opening paragraph, there wasn't a lot of things that you would have had to recall in your memory. You're restating what's in the question. So here is the first paragraph. So in this particular example, and I know I've told you typically 3 to 4 paragraphs is typically what a response is, but in this particular question, they clearly asked you to explain the 5 components. So each one of those components should be its own question or its own paragraph, because you want to explain that component as you wouldn't want to just bullet the 5 components without explaining what they are. Remember, the instruction said don't include a bulleted list. So you may tend to think, I'm going to do my introductory paragraph, I'm going to bullet the 5 components and do my conclusion. That is not a good response, even though you clearly showed that you knew what the 5 components are, but you didn't explain them. And this new board member needs to understand them. So first paragraph after the opening, the control environment is the set of standards, processes, and structures that pervasively, now here I've highlighted a problematic word, affect. If you're unsure if that should be affect or effect with an E, choose another word. Here's an example. Use the word influence. That pervasively influence the system of internal control. It is also referred to as the tone at the top, which is an atmosphere of commitment to integrity and ethical values established by the board and senior management. However, transition word, the board of directors should demonstrate independence from management and exercise oversight of internal control. Why do you think they put that last sentence in there? You're writing to a new member of the board of directors who may not understand their responsibility, right? So that was a good conclusion of this very first paragraph. Okay, next paragraph. We're on to the second internal control component. So the paragraph starts, the second internal control component is risk assessment. And it reads out. Now, this particular paragraph includes an action of what to do, and I've got them underlined here. So the risk assessment component involves identifying risks to achieving the organization's objectives. This forms the basis for determining how risks should be managed. The board and senior management, remember you're writing to this new board of director, the board and senior management should specify the organization's objectives and the maximum risk that the organization is willing to accept. That's why this is important for this person to understand. This maximum risk is known as the company's risk tolerance. If the assessed risk exceeds the risk tolerance level, risk responses should be implemented to reduce the assessed risk to within the risk tolerance. Again, it's letting this new board member know why it's important to understand what this second component is. Okay, we're on to the third component. Notice the transition word at the beginning of this paragraph, next. So rather than just starting the third, you can change it up a bit and say next, the third component of the COSO framework is control activities. Control activities turn risk responses into policies and procedures. They help ensure that management directives to mitigate risks are carried out. Control activities may be preventative or detective. Whether automated or manual, they are 1, applied at all levels of the organization, 2, within various stages of business processes, and 3, over the technology environment. Now, the closing sentence in this paragraph is an example that you could add. A common example is to segregate the duties of the person authorizing transactions and the person recording them. So again, here's where you've used a paragraph and you've used it as a proper closing of this particular paragraph. Now moving on to the fourth component, this paragraph starts off the fourth component and you go on to state what the fourth component is. And I won't read through all of this. However, I do want you to note the highlighted word I used here. It's another one of those problem words. And if you want to avoid them, think of another word that you could use in its place. So that last sentence said information about the responsibilities of staff or external matters affecting, maybe a better choice of word is impacting, internal control should be communicated internally or externally as appropriate. So I know that's just kind of an alert on watching your words. And then the fifth component. So this is the last body paragraph. This is not the closing paragraph. This is the last body paragraph explaining what the fifth component is. It has its own paragraph. So you can see how each one of these components in this particular response had its own paragraph. You would have not wanted to put all 5 of these in one long paragraph. Take advantage of the fact that you know there's 5 clear thoughts and create a paragraph for each one of those. And then your conclusion paragraph. The 5 components, you're kind of summarizing what you've already said. The 5 components of the COSO framework are, and repeat them, and they just listed them separated by commas. With these 5 components, the COSO framework provides a comprehensive guide to achieving the organization's objectives through an internal control system. I hope that helped. So that is an example of what a memo would look like if you were asked to do one on a written communication question. Now, I've got one more for you. So here is a question, and it says, a company's management is reviewing the annual billing for general liability insurance. The provider has offered the company 2 options for payment. The first option is to pay the entire premium in full at the time of commitment. The second option is to make a down payment of 30% of the premium at the time of commitment and to pay the remaining 70% of the premium, plus a 2% surcharge on the entire premium over a 12-month policy period. As the financial analyst, who are you? You are the financial analyst. As the financial analyst, you have been asked by management to evaluate these options. Write a memo. What are we writing? A memo. To whom? The CFO. So you're the financial analyst writing a memo to the CFO, analyzing the effects of each payment plan on working capital and net income. Make note that they're asking you to analyze it for each of those 2 items, working capital and net income. and then you're going to type your communication in the response below. So again, you're writing a memo. It's going to have a to, a from, a date, and a subject line. So in this case, it's to the CFO, from yourself, the financial analyst, today's date, and the subject. So the suggested answer is, and I kind of skipped that introduction and I went right into the body. You still need to do that introductory. So your introductory paragraph, again, restating the question, the following memorandum has been prepared in response to the request for the evaluation of two different options for payment of the general liability insurance. This analysis will mainly focus on the impact on two financial metrics, working capital and net income. So your first body paragraph after that introductory paragraph. The first payment option, again, you can restate what was in the question. It gave you it right in the question. The first payment option plan is to pay the entire premium in full at the time of commitment. And then you need to go on and explain the effect of these payment options. Now, if you were unsure on using the word effect, a tip here is they used that word in the question. So you know that that's the proper use of that word. The effect of this payment option will leave net income, which is one of your metrics, relatively higher than the second payment plan because there's no additional surcharge for the full prepayment of insurance. Furthermore, transition word, short-term working capital will not be affected because the decrease in cash is offset by the increase in prepaid insurance. Again, we're restating the first option and clearly indicating the impact on the two metrics that it asked you to do. The next paragraph is going to talk about the second option. So the second payment option plan is, and then restate, it's in the question, just lift it out of there. The effect of this payment option will decrease net income. And again, I've highlighted in red the two financial metrics, just so you can see how I am addressing what the question asked me to address. Will decrease net income due to the 2% surcharge. Current assets will not change because of the decrease in cash, will be offset by the increase in prepaid insurance. However, transition word, current liabilities will be increased by the 70% premium balance remaining plus the 2% surcharge. Therefore, another transition word, conclusion sentence of the paragraph, working capital, the second metric, will decrease under this payment plan. Okay, and then the conclusion. So in this example, you had your introductory paragraph, you had two body paragraphs, and you had a conclusion paragraph, wrapping up the thoughts. And they asked you for your opinion. So I recommend, remember you're the financial analysis, I recommend that the first payment option be chosen and why, as long as the company possesses the financial means to do so without incurring any additional liabilities. The analysis that I provided above is minimal. If necessary, again, what's an action that you want them to take? I can present a detailed numerical analysis and answer any questions you may have at your convenience. It's a proper closing paragraph. So hope these examples have helped you understand how to answer these written communication questions that are going to appear on your BEC exam. Now, I'd be amiss if I didn't share with you a little bit about Gleim and who we are. We have been in the business for almost 50 years helping candidates prepare for the CPA exam. We have it's a web-based platform where our full premium review system will give you access until you pass, meaning you're never going to have to buy your review system again if you use Gleim. You will get automatic updates, and that's really important right now, considering the exam changes that are coming. If you start studying right now, as we roll out updates, you're going to get them free of charge. We're not going to ask you to pay for an update. You get access to our team of accounting experts for your technical questions. You get guidance from our team of personal counselors. They're going to help you with your study plan, your exam applications, Prometric Test Center questions. They're going to be your biggest cheerleader in making sure, and they're going to be right beside you all the way. And then included in our course are video lectures, digital flashcards. We have the largest bank of multiple choice questions and task-based sims on the market, with over 1,300 task-based simulation questions. And within that, there's probably 300 written communication question practice. You can get digital or physical books, audio lectures, and we have private study groups. Our course will actually map out your plan for you, from creating your study plan to working through the study sessions. Our software is adaptive in nature so that it will guide you to the reading, the videos, the quizzes that you need to take. And then built into our course is a full-length mock exam. You take 4 hours to complete it, an exam-like sitting. They're unique questions. You will not have seen these questions as you have worked your way through the review course. It'll really give you a good indicator on how well prepared you are come exam day. And then the course will take your results of your mock exam and all of your quizzes and create a final review for you. It'll drive you back to the topics that you need to sharpen up on before you go sit for your exam. And then if time permits, you'll be given a second mock exam to see if your score has improved. So it's a really good laid out plan. There is a demo on our website. You can demo our full review program if you'd like. And I know Alia is giving you a great offer in her package that she's offering. For those of you that might be using another review system, we have a product called Finish Line, which really is the mock exams and the final review pulled out so that you can practice with unique questions and really kind of get a sense of confidence level if you're ready to sit for this exam. So I'm going to pause and see if there's questions. And while I'm looking at questions, here is my contact information. Please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I love hearing from candidates. I love helping candidates. I think that's why Alia has asked me to come today. So I'm thrilled to be here. So Alia, I'm going to leave this slide up, but are there questions that I can answer? And I'll take a look at the chat as well.
Yeah, there's a question from JMO. He's asking about the written communication.
Would the written part always be a topic in the BEC syllabus, for example, COSO, ERM? In actuality, the topics could be from other exam sections. So it could be asking you to talk about GAAP. It could be asking you to talk about a tax topic. And when I advise candidates on what orders to take their exam, I typically tell them to save BEC for the end for this main reason. But right now, because of the way the exam's changing, I'm suggesting they get BEC done sooner rather than later so that they don't have to deal with the disciplines. And so generally speaking, you should be pretty confident. If you're at this place where you're starting your exam, you've already been through the education, financial statements, tax, audit. So you should be able to answer any particular question that may be given to you in the BEC section. That's a good question. I'm glad you raised that one because it sometimes throws candidates for a loop when they see a question that's not even on a BEC topic and they're like, whoa.
Yeah. Any other questions, guys? So thank you, Valerie, so much. This was really helpful. I really appreciate all your efforts in that, and that's helped us. So we're offering a bonus to the BEC Excellence Program. Once you enroll, we're going to provide you with the BEC Finish Line from the GLIME CPA Review, which is an amazing product, and it will help you become an A+ BEC candidate. So we talked about the A+ framework in our prior sessions. We said in order to pass BEC, you must, first of all, appreciate becoming a CPA. So you're going to know your why. You're going to be convinced. You're going to be willing to putting the sacrifices. You're going to be mentally prepared for the exam in order to start and begin. So you must appreciate becoming a CPA. The second A is to absorb the material. And this happens by watching lectures, in-depth lectures, taking notes, going in-depth into the concepts. You must start by acing the concepts before you do anything else and learning the basics, of course. And then the third A is to apply what you learned. And this happens by solving MCQs and learning from your mistakes, seeing where you are weak in and solving those mistakes. And then the fourth A is assess assessing your performance. You're going to look at your scores. You're going to track your weak areas and track them, write them down, and always keep reviewing them and focusing on them. And the last A is attack your weak areas, which happens usually before the exam. Also, you're going to attack your weak areas. So those are the 5 A's which will get you an A+. Now, under the BEC Excellence Program, we have in-depth lectures in accordance with the AICPA blueprints for the BEC, which include every single topic in the blueprints, in addition to practicing multiple choice questions at the end of each lecture. And I give you my best tips and tricks for each topic. So we have in-depth lectures to help you absorb the material. And within this event, we had Dawn, who is a life coach, and she offered to give you a live workshop next month in order to be mentally prepared for the exam. She's going to help you beat your fears of failures and be mentally prepared and build an effective study plan. So you're going to be done with the first A by appreciating the CPA and being mentally prepared. And the second A is by watching the lectures and going in depth into the content and learning the concepts. And I'll tell you where to focus on my tips in each lecture. And then we have apply what you learned and assess your performance. Also, we have the boot camps. We're offering also weekly live boot camps. You're going to get access to 8 sessions in the boot camps, which are live. And these are meant to hold you accountable, plus assessing and tracking your performance and giving you additional help if you need and questions and tutoring if you need in any topics. Plus, Professor Farhat yesterday also we offered a bonus, a 1-month access to Farhat lectures in case you need any supplement or watch any additional lectures. This will help you also absorb and apply and assess your performance. And today, GLIME CPA Review is offering you the BEC finish line. In order to finish strongly, we want you to finish strongly. So the BEC finish line is the product that you need in order to attack your weak areas and be ready to ace the exam. So Valerie, can you just tell us a little bit more about the features of the finish line, how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So the finish line product is 30 days of access. So you'll want to start your access with that right before you start going to take your test. So you've probably went through all of her other steps and you've scheduled your exam. So that month leading up to your exam date, you're going to log into Finish Line and you're going to take your first mock exam. It's assuming you've went through all of the lectures, you've had all the practice on the multiple choice questions, the task-based sims, the other written communication questions. You're going to take your first mock exam. You're going to get a score. Our scores on our mock exam are pretty indicative of what you're going to get at the Prometric Testing Center. The one good thing about the way our mock exams are scored is you're going to actually be able to go back in after you've finished it and go into each of the testlets to see which questions you missed and see the answer explanations for each one of those questions. So that'll be super helpful. And then after you have completed that first mock exam, reviewed your score, you're going to get a final review. So we're going to point you back and give you some topical learning on those topics that you're struggling with. And then you're going to want to take that second mock exam to see how your scores improve. Now, the second mock exam are unique questions that you would not have seen in the first mock exam. So again, it's great practice. You've been through all of the other reviews and the programs and you've prepped yourself. This is really intended for you to do right before you go sit, so you can build your confidence level and be sure that you're going to pass on exam day.
Thank you so much, Valerie. So in order to get this full package, which is exclusive for this event, and we're offering all that for a discount. Actually, the value of all these packages together is $2,500, but we're offering all that for $997, including the lectures, the live sessions, the finish line, the free access, the workshop. So we're offering this for $997 exclusively for this event. This is a discounted price. Go to www.passbecnow.com and claim your seat here and enroll now in the program. We want you to pass BEC before it's gone, and there's no time left actually. So November 15, after November 15, no applications are accepted. December 15 is the last day to sit. It is your chance right now to beat and ace the BEC exam. Go to www.passbecnow.com and get this full package along with the live tutoring, the workshops, the BEC finish line, Farhat lectures, our in-depth lectures that include everything and support. So don't miss this opportunity. And you're the leader of your life. You're the one who determines the success of your life and where you want to go. And you're the one who determines what you want to be, right? So it is you and only you who decide that. And we are here all to help. So this package is meant to help you beat the BEC, which is our priority right now before it's gone under the CPA evolution. So remember, go to www.passbecnow.com and enroll now and beat the BEC exam in order to become CPAs with the shortest route possible, with the least expenses. You don't want later on to deal with the new exams and have to maybe more expenses, more time, failures. You don't know what happens later on. So with that said, I wish you all the great luck and make sure to enroll in www.passbecnow.com. So Valerie, thank you so much for today. It was really helpful.
Thank you so much for having me. Good luck, everyone. I wish you the best on your BEC exams.
Okay, guys, let's thank Valerie in the chat. So let's put thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you so much, really. Thank you. We appreciate
you so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye, Valerie. Bye. Okay, everybody. So now we have a session about the SOC reports, the SOC reports. So let's dive into the SOC reports in order to give you some value. And this is a new topic on the exam, actually. And it is an important topic that you must know for BEC, and that is tested also on BEC. So let's talk about the SOC reports now. Okay, yeah. So first of all, what do we mean by SOC reports? The SOC reports, they refer to the System and Organization Controls Report. SOC reports are required under the attestation standard of the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants. Under the AICPA, it is required, okay? SOC reports are audit reports covering service organizations controls. So they are basically for service organizations. They're meant for service organizations control. And we have two types of services actually here. So the SOC reports cover the organizations that provide financial services like payroll services, such as paychecks and ADP, or it also applies to the organizations that provide non-financial services, like storing, processing, or protecting data. And that's basically, for example, like the cloud service providers. So if you're storing your information within a cloud service provider, as a customer, you have the right to ask them to provide you with their SOC report in order to make sure that your data will be safe and that they have the proper controls to maintain and keep your information. The SOC report is issued by the service auditor. And the service auditor here, we mean by it the practitioner who reports on controls of a service organization. Now let's talk a little bit about the parties who are involved in the SOC reports and how it works, because here we have more than one party. So we have first the firm A, which is the user entity. We call it the user entity. And the user entity is the firm that uses the service organization and is subject to audit by the user auditor. Okay, so any firm, it can be any firm, it can be a university, a hospital, any firm that is using a service organization. So for example, if we have firm A is outsourcing its services to ADP, which is a service organization here. ADP is performing the payroll services for firm A. So firm A is outsourcing its payroll services. It's not doing it internally. It gives us to ADP to process its payroll, right? The service organization here, which is ADP, we mean by a service organization is the firm that offers services to a user entity relevant to its internal control over financial reporting. So ADP here is working on the payroll of firm A. Any mistake that ADP does in the payroll it means that there's a problem. It will cause a problem in the financial reports of firm A, right? So we want the internal controls for ADP to be strong in order to ensure that the payroll information of firm A, which will be processed by ADP, we want to ensure that everything is going fine, they have the proper controls, because this will impact firm A's financials if the controls were weak in ADP and they made mistakes, right? Now we have the user auditor. What does the user auditor do? The user auditor performs the regular annual audit services of firm A. He's the normal external auditor of firm A. And he's the one who issues the audit reports on the financial statements of firm A. Sometimes we have also a sub-service organization, which offers services to the service organization relating to the user entity. So here ADP, for example, which performs the payroll services for firm A, ADP may have another organization that's offering it some services to help it in processing the payroll. Now, the service auditor, it's very important to differentiate between a user auditor and a service auditor. Here, it may be a bit tricky because we have two auditors involved. So it's very important to differentiate between a user auditor and a service auditor. The service auditor is the auditor who performs audit of the controls of the service organization. So the user auditor audits the user entity, which is firm A here, does the normal annual audits. However, the service auditor will come and audit ADP here, which is the service organization, which is the organization that is performing the payroll services for its clients, right? So the service auditor is the practitioner who reports on the controls of a service organization. So the service auditor is going to go audit ADP, and then he's going to issue a report on the controls of ADP. How is its controls are, right? Now the service auditor, we have two types of reports that are issued by the service auditor. We have the SOC 1 reports, and the SOC 1 reports, they apply if the service organization offers financial services. So here in our case, ADP is offering financial services. It's handling the payroll services of its clients. So its report is going to be SOC1 report, the SOC 1 report. So SOC 1 report is needed from the service auditor to satisfy who wants to see this report. The user auditor wants to see it and wants to be satisfied because certain controls that are impacting the user entity's financial statements are done by the service organization, right? The user auditor will not go and audit the service organization. The user auditor will ask for the SOC 1 report that is issued by the service auditor and depend and rely on it and rely that the internal controls of this service organization are correct in order to be able to issue his report for the firm. Now, the second type of report that a service auditor can issue is the SOC 2 report. The SOC 2 report applies if the service organization offers non-financial services, like data storage and protection. For example, the cloud service providers and the ones that store the data and protect it, those do not provide financial services, but they are subject to the SOC audits, and they must have SOC 2 reports because they are handling and they are keeping information for their clients, right? So for us as users, when we put our data and our information, especially when it's something sensitive like hospitals' information, when they go and they store it with the cloud service providers, they want to be sure and they want to be satisfied that this service provider, that this cloud-based service provider has the proper controls to maintain and store this data in a reliable manner and that everything is fine. So that's why the service auditor must issue a SOC 2 report for the service organizations that offer also non-financial services like data storage and protection. The SOC 2 reports, they focus on a service organization's system controls that are relevant to the security. We want to make sure that a cloud-based service provider, for example, has the proper security controls, availability, or processing integrity of the system. We want to make sure that everything is fine. Our information, our data, when we store it with a cloud-based provider, we want it to be secured, we want it to be available, and we want to be integrity in storing this information, and the confidentiality and the privacy. We want all those to exist in the systems and the controls of the service organization, right? That is providing the cloud services, for example. And this is done by the service auditor who goes and audits and performs the internal controls for them, the internal controls testing, in order to make sure that they have those controls. Now, why do we need the SOC reports? Again, the AICPA added the SOC attestation engagement requirements in order to give confidence and assurance about the service organization's internal controls. We want to be confident that they have proper internal controls because they are considered outsourced user entity controls, right? They are doing some services for the user entities. The service organizations, they hire a CPA firm to perform an engagement on their system processes and controls and issue the report they can provide to their to the user auditor, the client's auditor, in order to give them confidence. As we said, the user auditor is not going to go and perform the audit procedures on those service organizations. He's going to rely on the SOC reports issued by the service auditor in order to issue his annual audit report for the user organizations. Now, again, the service organizations get the SOC audits, they are done annually, and they show that their systems and controls are suitably designed. So the SOC reports show that the controls and systems for those service organizations are suitably designed. And based on the type of the engagement, because we have type 1 and type 2 reports, they may be required to also report on the operating effectiveness of the internal controls of those organizations. Now, as we said, the service auditor issues either SOC1 reports, which apply to service organizations that offer financial services like payroll, or SOC2 reports. And this applies if the service organization offers non-financial services like data storage. Now, we have two types of SOC1 report. It can be either type 1 report, which reports at a point in time. It is a point in time audit, okay? Or type 2 report, which covers a period of time. Also, the SOC2 reports, they can be type 1 or type 2 reports. Now, the type 1 report, under the type 1 report, the auditor reports on the management description of the service organization's system at a point in time, and the suitability of control design as of. So the auditor is going to put that in his opinion that the control design is suitable as of blah, blah, blah. It's at a point in time. However, the type 2 report, it includes the management description of the system. So the auditor is going to report on the management description of the service organization systems, suitability of control design, plus under type 2 reports, the service auditor is required to test the operating effectiveness of the internal controls of the service organizations for a period of time. So this is the difference between type 1 and type 2 reports. Type 2 has an additional element. The auditor here is required to perform tests of controls here and report on the operating effectiveness over a period of time for those service organizations. Management specifies that The control objectives, management usually specifies the control objectives to be tested, and this must cover a reporting period of at least 6 months. This is at least should be the reporting period. Now, for both SOC1 and SOC2 reports, distribution usually is restricted to the service organization or user entities and user auditors. So for those two types, the distribution goes either to the service organization, user entities, or user auditors. Now, for the SOC2 specifically, reports can also be distributed to regulators and potential clients. So you as a client, for example, if you are saving your information using a cloud-based service, putting important information and saving it using the services of a cloud-based service organization, as a client, you have the right to ask for the SOC2 report in order to ensure that this cloud service provider has the proper controls to keep your information in confidentiality, privacy, and availability, and everything, integrity. So this is the basic difference between the SOC1 and SOC2 reports. Again, for example, let's take one example on SOC1 reports. So assume company A outsourced its payroll services to ADP. ADP's internal controls will absolutely impact the correctness of the payroll expenses and tax liabilities computed and recorded for company A, which is the user organization, right? Now, if ADP's controls fail, company A's payroll will be incorrectly computed and therefore will cause a material misstatement in its financial reporting, right? Company A's auditor, who is the user auditor, will use ADP's SOC1 report as part of their audit over company A's internal control. So the user auditor is going to go ask for the SOC1 reports. He's not going to go and perform the audit over the service organization, but he's going to ask for the SOC1 report for company A here in order to ensure that company A's internal control is, in order to ensure that the service organization's controls are proper and everything is fine. And this is going to be part of issuing, in order to be able to issue the audit report and issue an opinion on company A's internal control, right? And issue the financial statements. So that's why ADP, the service organization, must hire an auditor who is the service auditor to audit its internal controls and issue an SOC1 report. ADP's SOC1 report will also be used by potential investors in ADP as well. So this is an example on an SOC1 report. Now, an example on SOC2 report is, for example, if we have a cloud-based service firm, a cloud-based service firm must submit a SOC2 report. So assuming we have University A uses cloud-based services offered by XZ company to store its academic data, for example. So XY's internal controls will absolutely impact the privacy and security of University A's data, which is the user organization. If XY's controls, which is the service organization's controls, are not operating effectively, University A may lose its data and information, or its data may be accessed by unauthorized parties. So that's why University A must request a SOC2 report from XY company before trusting them to store their information. So this is an example on SOC1 and SOC2 reports and the difference between both of them. Remember, SOC1 reports apply to service organizations that perform financial services, while SOC2 reports apply to the service providers that perform non-financial services, such as the services of storing, processing, and protecting clients' information. And again, we already talked about them. I usually love to make summaries of the differences between both. So both of them, as we said, the SOC1 and SOC2, SOC1 applies to service organizations whose controls impact their user entities' financial reporting, as we said, like the payroll service providers, while SOC2 reports apply to service organizations whose controls impact their user entities' operations and compliance, like data storage and cloud service providers. SOC1 reports aim to give the auditor of a user entity evidence about controls at a service organization that relate to a user entity's internal control over financial reporting. However, an SOC2 report aims to give service organizations, management, user entities, and others a report about a service organization's system controls. Okay, we're not talking about the financial reporting, we're talking most about the system controls in the SOC2 reports, which are relevant to the security, availability, confidentiality, and privacy of those systems. So this is the basic difference between an SOC1 report and an SOC2 report. SOC1, as we said, it gives evidence about controls at a service organization that relate to the internal control over financial reporting, while SOC2 report, they give service organizations and management and users a report about a service organization's system controls. So they report about the system controls relevant to the system's security, availability, confidentiality, and privacy. The distribution in SOC1 reports, it is restricted to the service organization, user entity, and user auditor, while in the SOC2 report, distribution is restricted to the service organization, user entities, business partners if there are partners, regulators, and clients. So the clients here can also get an SOC2 report. Both of them, they are similar in that both of them, they can be either type 1 or type 2 reports. And the service organization auditor, the service auditor, gives an opinion on the fairness of the description of the system that was designed and implemented at a specific date, if it was type 1. If it's type 2, the auditor is gonna give an opinion on the fairness of the description of the system that was designed and implemented over a period of time. So this is a difference between the type 1 and type 2 reports. And also the auditor is gonna give an opinion on the controls, that the controls were suitably designed at a specific date, or if it's type 2 at a period, over a period of time. And only if it's a type 2 SOC1 report, the auditor is gonna give an opinion on the effectiveness of the internal controls by performing tests of controls. Okay, so he's gonna give an opinion that the controls tested operated effectively during a period of time. And tests of controls must be done if it's a type 2 report. And this is similar to the SOC2 reports, the same thing. So it's the SOC or SOC1 or SOC2, both of them can be either type 1 or type 2 reports. And the auditor gives the same opinions, but the nature of the service organization is the one who determines what is the type of report that's going to be issued. Is it a service organization that's performing financial services, or a service organization that is performing non-financial services like data storage and keeping the data and processing the data for clients? So this is basically the difference between an SOC1 and an SOC2 reports. And make sure to know this topic properly for the BEC exam, because it is a new topic and it's tested even in the, I think in the audit section also it's tested. So here are the basics. Make sure to know the basics. Don't get tricked, because sometimes the exam want to trick you. Keep it simple, and very important, in my opinion, to know the flow of the parties, the relation between the different parties, because it might be a bit confusing that we have, for example, 2 auditors, a user auditor and a service auditor, but you must understand the basics. That's why we always say, start with the basics, understand the basics, how things flow and the relations. And this will make it much more easier for you to ace these topics and be able to understand them and beat them on the exam. So, does anyone have any question? Yes. Let's see. Does anyone have any question here? Okay. Amazing, amazing, amazing. So, let's see in the chat below. Who got value out of this session? Let's see. Put me in the chat. Let's see. Come on. Put me. Valerie gave great tips today, and I gave this SOC lessons too. I hope you guys all got the most value out of this session. And today it's day 3 of the BEC Exam Summit. Morgad says this was well worth the time. Thank you. So thank you, Mordax, for your comments. Today is actually the last day, the third and last day of the BEC Exam Summit. I hope you all got the most value out of the summit. We all worked together in order to give you as much content as possible and as much value as possible to get you ready for the exam. Remember, we want you to pass BEC before it's gone. Iban says, thank you so much for this. This was informative. Thank you, Iban. We want you to pass BEC before it's gone. This is our mission right now. No more time left. Now the summer is on the doors, and then we have, after the summer, there's no time actually. So the countdown time starts. Be focused. Put your goals from now. Put what you want to do. Take action. Thank you, Kareem. Thank you for your comment. So you're the ones who determine your future, and you're the ones who determine what you want. We are here to help always, all of us. So you can contact me or any of the other speakers. They're all here to help. And we put what we can and give what we can. And at the end, it's up to you. You're the one who determine what you want. You're the one who take the decision for your life. And you're the one who put the sacrifice that you want in order to see your future. Because anything that you do today is an investment for your future. It's an investment. Tomorrow, when you become a CPA, you're going to rest forever. You're going to get the goal that you want. The first day when I asked people, why do you want to become CPAs? Some of them told me because they want the prestige, because they want to satisfy their families and kids and parents, because they want to upgrade their careers. Someone also answered that he wants to open his own business. So you're the ones who determine your future. We're here to help. We give all what we can, and we put all the efforts we can to help you become CPAs. And at the end, it's your decision. I'm not going to come and decide instead of you, right? And I'm not going to sit for the exam instead of you. But what I can do is offer you all what I can to help you pass and ace the BEC exam with all the support needed. Make sure to go to www.passbecnow.com to get this exclusive package that we talked about, which includes in-depth lectures about the BEC exam. Those are from my personal effort. I put them actually, and I worked on them for months in terms of creating those lectures and recording them and putting my best tips and trying to simplify the content as much as possible for you to make it easy for you to ace those concepts. Plus, all the 5 speakers we had in this summit, they all gave bonuses. We have the workshop that's going to be live next month by Dawn, the life coach. She is really a great person. And we had her the first day of the summit, and she has a framework and she has everything you need to get you mentally prepared for the exam, to remove any fear of failure you have, to get you ready to go into this tough experience, I can say. So she's offering a workshop next month, a live workshop where you can join her, and she's going to give you everything you need to be ready to create an effective study plan and be ready to go into the exam experience. And then we have the boot camp, the live boot camp. Everyone who enrolls in the BEC Excellence Program is going to get 8 sessions, live sessions on those boot camps. And the goal behind the boot camps is to keep you accountable keep you on track, see how things are going, answer any questions you have, provide tutoring for some lessons that you want. We're going to be asking before each lesson, what are the common topics you want some support in, and we're going to put them priorities. Of course, in addition to the recorded lectures that we're providing you, the in-depth lectures that we have. Also, Professor Farhat is going to give a 1 month free access to anyone who joins BEC Excellence Program in order to give you all the supplementary information and questions and everything you need to ace the BEC exam. So it's going to be a great additional resource to you, where you're going to be able to refer to any additional material and supplementary material for the exam. And in addition to those bonuses, we had today Valerie of GLIME CPA Review. Valerie of GLIME CPA Review, she offered the BEC Finish line product. This is a very important thing you need to ace the BEC exam. You want, to appreciate it, to absorb the information, apply what you learn, assess your performance. But the important thing, in order to finish this finish line, to pass it correctly and to succeed, we need to have a strong BEC finish line, where you're gonna practice mock exams, track your weak areas. There are also a lot of questions that you can practice as a supplement also. Plus, you're going to determine your weak areas, and there are guidance on those weak areas to get you stronger in them in order to pass and ace the BEC exam. So this is the full package that we're offering for this event exclusively, and it's going to be gone by the end of this week. No time left. By the end of this week, all this is going to be gone. So it's you who determines what you want in life. We're giving this package for a discounted price of $997, along with the live sessions, the recorded material, the bonuses, all the bonuses, and the workshops. So go to www.passbecnow.com. Enroll today. Take the decision now. Be an action taker. Be a committer. Don't wait. Don't procrastinate. If you procrastinate, you're going to stay as you are. No difference is going to happen in your life if you don't take action. Your action is the thing that determines your future. We all sit. Either we take action or we sit. So if you take action today, you're going to make it, and you're going to do the change in your life, and you're going to rest forever and make your dreams come true. This is an investment in your future. Do it now. Don't wait. Go to www.passbecnow.com and enroll now in the program. Also, I'm always here to support. If you need anything from me, you have my email. I also have a LinkedIn account, Facebook, Instagram. Make sure to contact me anytime you want. I'm here also to support anytime. And I wish you all, guys, the best of luck in all your life and in your CPA exams. And I wish you're going to have the easiest route possible, with the least with the success and the least obstacles. And I hope you all meet your dreams and get them come true. So with that said, I'm going to end the live of today, and I'm going to tell you all, guys, have a great day. Enjoy your day. And we're going to be meeting and talking soon, and we're going to stay in contact, of course. So goodbye, everybody. I hope all of you have a great day, and talk soon. Bye.